Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'd like to talk about the second half, of our reading tonight from the Gospel of John. Now keep in mind, this segment of the Gospel speaks about Jesus after the resurrection. So anyway, it says, when they had finished breakfast, Jesus turned to Simon Peter and said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Then he says to him again, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter said to him, "Lord, you know that I love you. Tend to my sheep." Then he says to him a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Now Peter starts to get upset, and rightfully so, because he doesn't understand. He gets upset and he says, "This is the third time you said, 'Do you love me?' Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." The problem with the word love, especially in these days, is that it's become so cheap. It's the movies, it's the newspapers, it's what they define as love, and that's not really love. Let's go make love. It's not making love, they're having sex. Love is more than a warm, fuzzy feeling. You husbands and wives know that very well. I tell brides as they're getting ready to make their vows, I said that warm, fuzzy feeling that you're feeling now will last about the first 2 weeks, and then the work sets in. It's actually not true, but I think those of us with silver hair can somewhat identify with that. Love is more than a warm, fuzzy feeling. It is a commitment. What Jesus is trying to get across to Peter. Now keep in mind, this is after the resurrection. Peter has already made a mess of things prior to the resurrection, when he denied Jesus. And yet, Jesus still had faith in him. But he challenges him. "Peter, do you love me more than these?" He's speaking about the rest of the disciples. And Peter flippantly says, "Lord, you know I love you. Then feed my lambs." He says it 3 times. He's trying to get Peter to understand what it means to love God, to love Jesus. And it is more than a warm, fuzzy feeling. If you love me, then do something. Feed my lambs. Tend to my sheep. Live the word that I have shared with you these 3 years. How would you feel if Jesus approached you and asked that same question? Do you love me? "Well, Lord, I'm here every Sunday night. I'm here for an hour. I put in my hour. Of course I love you. I come to Mass once a week. I get it all the way almost through Mass, but at least I'm here for the beginning." "Do you love me?" he says. It's one of those powerful, poignant gospel readings that always hits me every year when we read it. Because it's a very valid question Jesus asked Peter, and he asks you and me. How much do you love him? It's got to be more than a love of convenience. And the prime example of love is Jesus himself. You realize God made a decision to love you. It was much more than a warm, fuzzy feeling. He made a commitment that he was going to love you till the end of time and then some. He loved you so much, he made you out of his own image. That's powerful. And then, when we mess up like we do often, because we're sinners, because we're weak, God doesn't give up on us. He continues to love us, encourage us, forgive us, heal our prayer, hear our prayers, and answer in the best way God can, even when we sin the worst. Because he made a decision one day. I'm going to love you beyond anything else in the world. That's how powerful God's love is for you. And I don't mean you, group, you as individuals. He made you out of love. He created you out of love. And he's asking you tonight, how much do you love him? That's a great question that we can think about today and maybe throughout the coming week. Maybe take a 3x5 card and write that question on that card and tape it to your bathroom mirror so that you can see it each morning. Jesus is asking you the question, do you love me? And if you do, where is my ranking in the things that you love? Am I third? Am I fourth? Am I 10th? Or am I number one? I hope he's number one. Because if he's number one, everything else will fall into place. If he's down near number 10, I bet your life is pretty much screwed up. Because we got our value system all a mess. It's kind of what's wrong with this world today. Our value system is all screwed up. But you know, that's what Jesus is also saying to us. Do you love me? And like Peter, we boldly say, yes, Lord, I love you. Then tend my sheep. Do something with that love that I have given you and you say you give to me. And make the world better. Be an example of my love. Now, not many, I hope you young people will be, but none of us except me are called to stand before you every Sunday night. But we're all called to preach the gospel by the way we live. We should be a model of that love that Jesus is talking about, that commitment that Jesus is talking about, that decision that God made, that he loved you that much. And he's asking you, how much do you love him? Now, if in thinking about it tonight, you're not necessarily too pleased with yourself, then welcome to the club. Because I think we all can see how short we are in measuring up to where we should be. That's why I say, take that 3x5 card and tape it to your bathroom mirror and read it every morning. Do you love me? Jesus asks you. What are you going to say? You could be like Peter and say, well, of course, Lord, I love you. Jesus was trying to get across this more than words. The love you have for him must be more than words. It's got to be action. It's got to be the way you live. It's got to be the example you are to your children, to your coworkers, to the cashier at the grocery store. You've got to be the example of his love to those that Jesus places in your life. The stranger as well as the friend. The neighbor as well as the coworker. How well are you showing Jesus that you love him? How well are you a living example of God's love for you? I wish you a good week as you think about this. And again, take that 3x5 card and put it on the mirror. I promise you on Monday you're going to be uncomfortable. But I bet if you really work on it, on Friday, you will be able to answer that question. Let us make